Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and Drew, and this is episode 523. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, actually not always by my co-host, Prez, who is still out on his paternity leave, but I am joined by my current interim podcast host. You might know him as Drew, you may know him as Doug, you may know him as Drug. Drew, Doug, Drug, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to find ways to get paid $50 million to not do anything.
28 million, and maybe even 48 million.
No, okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
48 million to do absolutely nothing except be employed by the Los Angeles Clippers. That's my only requirement to get paid 48 million. So I'm trying to figure that out.
It's good work if you can get it. Nobody can deny that. We're going to talk about the Clippers. But before we do that, I do make videos. That's the first thing that Strickland has a YouTube channel where you may be watching this podcast. If you are not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. That'd be a huge help to us. The Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website, www.thestrick.land. There's a link that'll take you to the merchandise store. It's all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we got it. Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. They're number of different tiers. There's $6 tier that gets you access to Strickland, this podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You'll get access to Takes from Office Moses podcast hosted by Andrew Steele, aka Doug, along with Zach Ladder, and you get access to the Strickland Discord. The conversation never stops there. For the tiers, there's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland All My Solo Pod, where I rant and rave about the Knicks anymore, but it's not a solo pod anymore. I host that with YC. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by Matthew Murner, one of the best in the business, and you get access to Strickland NFL, which you guess is a podcast with the NFL that is hosted by Constantine Metricos and Desmond Novak. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and a $100 tier. Those come with a variety of additional benefits, like listening on a product recording, the merchandise discounts, and potentially co-hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe, not necessarily possible at you, and not necessarily possible without our sponsor, FanDuel. Thank you to FanDuel. All right, let's get started. Anybody who listens to this obsessed with basketball, so everybody that listens to this will be aware that Pablo Torre put out a podcast. I believe it was on Tuesday.
It was earlier this week.
I'm pretty sure it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, which in it he has documented evidence showing that a failed company which is now being investigated by the Department of Justice and other federal agencies, I believe. They also were a sponsor of the Clippers in some capacity. I forget what exactly they were. They weren't the stadium sponsor. They had a sponsorship agreement with the Clippers. I don't want to get too much details, but all is that I think it's worth mentioning. Steve Ballmer's been the owner of the Clippers now for close to a decade. I think it's more than a decade now.
I believe so.
Back in 2016, when he was the owner, DeAndre Jordan famously agreed to leave the Clippers to go to the Dallas Mavericks. And then he got locked in a room, and a bunch of his teammates came from the Clippers, and they convinced him to renege on the deal with the Mavericks, and he went back to the Clippers. Again, not a big deal. It sounds like, I wish free agency was still as eventful as that. But as part of this, the Clippers were actually, and Steve Ballmer, I believe, it was just the Clippers. I want to be clear that the organization was fined $250,000 because it came to light that they tried to get DeAndre Jordan some type of $200,000 sponsorship with Lexus directly through the organization, which was illegal. Anyway, this came to light. He's fined $250,000. The organization's fined $250,000. Whatever. Life moves on. 2019 comes. This is the summer of not just Kawhi, but many, many stars, as we know. KD, Kyrie, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, whatever, etc. It's a summer of massive star movement. Kawhi is probably the first or second top guy on the market, depending on your viewpoint. He is coming off a season with the Toronto Raptors where he won Finals MVP and a championship. And this was his only year in Toronto after he was traded from the Spurs, after a weird final year with the Spurs where they just beefed about, is he healthy? Is he not healthy? What's going on with his tendinopathy in his knee or whatever the fuck is going on there. Anyway, he gets traded from the Spurs to the Raptors. Then he enters free agency, leaves the free agency to the Clippers, which may not be that big of a deal in and of itself because you're allowed to leave teams when you're in free agency. I think he's the only player to win Finals MVP in a championship and leave that team. So that's kind of more of an interesting quirk than anything else. But what also comes to light during this summer is that Uncle Dennis has his hand out and is trying to get stuff like equity stake in the team and whatever, all kinds of perks that you're not actually allowed to get. And this is not just from the Clippers, by the way. He tried to get this from the Lakers. He tried to get it from the Raptors. And the league did an investigation after all this to ensure that there was no impropriety in how Kawhi Leonard gets to the Clippers. They did a full investigation and they said, no, nothing, everything is good. Nothing to see here. We are satisfied that everything that happened with the Clippers in their pursuit of Kawhi Leonard, which by the way involved like Lawrence Frank, like people lost their minds about, fucking Worldwide West and Randall sitting courtside at one playoff game. These guys had like Lawrence Frank literally traveling around the entire league, the entire league for the season with the Raptors just to sit there and watch Kawhi Leonard play basketball. But anyway, they did this investigation and they determined that nothing was wrong, nothing bad was done by the Clippers. But at the end of this, this is what Sam Amick wrote as far as what Adam Silver thought. Adam Silver sees salary, and this is in quotes, sees salary cap circumvention as a cardinal sin in the NBA, and end quote. And that, again, in quotes, if any relevant evidence of improper benefits surfaces in the future, the league will reopen the investigation and pursue the charges yet again, end quote. Okay, so we're moving on with our lives. And then you get in 2021, that's when they enter this deal with Aspiration. And so Kawhi signs an extension with the Clippers in the summer of 2021 when he has an ACL tear. That is a 4-year deal he signs. The consensus opinion at that time was he would sign a 1+1 because then he would have had 10 years of service and then he can sign that 35% max following year. He bucks the conventional trend and signs this 4-year max, which is obviously still max contract, still makes him plenty of fucking money, but it was just not it was not the common belief that that's the way he would go about it. He signs this in basically whatever, it doesn't matter, summer of 2021, August 2020, it doesn't matter the month, summer of 2021. The deal with Aspiration is in the fall of 2021. And then Kawhi himself has a deal with Aspiration, which doesn't kick in until April 1st, 2022, but actually is signed and agreed upon in November of 2021. So there's just a lot of stuff going on here. Again, remember, Ballmer has put $50 million of his own money into Aspiration. And it's just a little too much on the nose that, one, in this contract that Kawhi Leonard signs for $28 million is what he's owed in installments of $7 million per year. In this, apparently, according to the research that Pablo Torre did, he did a 7-month investigation before he put all this out there, laid it all out on a podcast. This Aspiration group, yes, it was a ripoff. Yes, it ended up being a total hoax and a fraud. But just like other great frauds and Ponzi schemes, like Bernie Madoff's, people that they paid to do work, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert Downey Jr. and whatever, Cindy Crawford was another one. The list goes on. Apparently, again, according to one of the sources, Pablo is, what is his investigation, he was told that Kawhi Leonard, his $28 million agreement was like, I think it was like 4x or something, 5x of every other spokesperson they had combined. So he's making and this is like, look, I like Kawhi Leonard, you like Kawhi Leonard, we like basketball, we're big basketball fans. I am here to tell you that in no fucking way is anybody who's like, we need somebody to market this. There's no justification where you're like, Kawhi should get paid way more than Leonardo fucking DiCaprio and Robert Downey Jr., who was literally in the middle of like this whole fucking Avengers Iron Man thing where he's like the biggest, at least one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So again, Kawhi Leonard gets and there's another clause in the contract where it's like he doesn't actually, if it doesn't agree with his beliefs, like he doesn't actually, he doesn't have to do anything. And the only thing he has to do is just be on the Clippers. That's it. That's the only thing he has to do to get paid. So when you think of that, what it makes you think is like, this is a way for Ballmer to give this seemingly good cause $50 million. They give $28 million to Kawhi, and that in some way maybe makes him whole for the money he gave up by not doing the 1+1 and opting out and whatever bullshit. Now you may be wondering, but 28 is not 50. Like, there's a big difference. Like if Ballmer's going to do this, and if this is like a handshake agreement, what's going on? Well, it also came to light, and this was first reported by a great publication in Drew's hometown of Boston, the Boston Sports Journal, apparently, that not in addition to the $28 million no-show job, effectively, that Kawhi got, there was also $20 million in equity that they were basically given. And I think this was to Uncle Dennis or Kawhi. It doesn't really matter. To Kawhi's camp. We'll just leave it at that. $20 million in equity. 28 plus 20 is 48, 50. Now we're getting really close. And is there a smoking gun? Hard to say there's a smoking gun. Now, Pablo Torre talked to 7 people. There's one of them is on the podcast. If you want to listen to it, I would recommend you listen to it, because the entire story of Aspiration, by the way, all of it is it's even, the whole like thing. The Kawhi thing is crazy in our little like basketball universe of caring about basketball. The entire story itself is fucking crazy. But it just feels like a little too on the nose. And again, there's no smoking gun. Maybe these 7 people will end up getting deposed in the process of these federal investigations into Aspiration. It just feels a little bit too on the nose, and I don't know. Like, I guess you can claim plausible deniability. I know Ballmer did an interview last night with Ramona Shelburne, and like, he said he wasn't sure, and he talked about he was embarrassed about like the entire thing because he should have done his due diligence into this company better. And whatever. I don't know, man. I just think that like your reputation is this guy is a great businessman, really smart dude who is very, very detail oriented, attention to detail oriented. So just given all of that, I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you I haven't done the investigation. I don't have all the thousands of papers in front of me that Pablo Torre had. I'm sure I missed many details that he outlined in the podcast itself, because that was an hour and 27-minute podcast, and this was a 10-minute rambling. But I don't know, man. Given Kawhi's history of just constantly being in some shit, and Uncle Dennis constantly being in some shit, and Steve Ballmer kind of pushing the envelope at times and stuff, I don't know. It just seems like it's fishy. It's very fishy.
So this post on Reddit is from a year ago, and it's from the biglead.com. So I don't actually know how accurate the numbers are, but the specifics of it don't actually matter. And it's basically the top 10 richest owners in the NBA, kind of like their estimated worth. I'll just start with 5 and then work my way up. So the 5th one is Detroit Pistons. It's Tom Gore's $11.3 billion. Mickey Arison, $12.8 billion. Stan Kroenke, $17.6 billion. Dan Gilbert's number 2 at $25 billion. Steve Ballmer, a year ago, according to this, $142 billion. And then on Wikipedia, they say he's the 10th richest man in the world. So there is like, you know how we always joke about like James Dolan in the Knicks, like printing money in that type of shit, right? Like Steve Ballmer is in like another level of wealth.
He might be richer than the entire other 29 NBA owners.
Yeah, like if you like aggregate it all, like it's like that insane type of wealth. And he was on some sort of podcast again. Like if you watch or listen to the episode, the Pablo Torre episode, highly recommend it. Ballmer was on a podcast even talking about how coming into the NBA, he wasn't used to talking, interacting, negotiating with his competition. Right? Like he is so wealthy and so out of touch of like these specific business ecosystems. You don't get to be that level of wealth without finding ways to like loophole money and not paying attention to the detail, right?
Like the NBA is effectively like it has a monopoly on basketball. Like it is the only actual real professional basketball organization in the United States, and it is effectively like and really will always forever, despite our dear leader's best efforts, will always be like the number one professional basketball organization in the world. Like it's just it's just reality. So you're basically entering like a cartel, and you're like a member of the cartel, and that's just obviously very different from he's a Microsoft guy, right? He was CEO of Microsoft or whatever. So like that's obviously a different thing where like Microsoft has competitors, or at least had competitors, had competitors back then. Now we live in a great society where we don't have competition anymore. Actually, competition is terrible. But no, terrible. Like, but back when he was like, back when he made his bones, I guess you could say with Microsoft, there was competition. They had competition, so it's just a different, mindset.
It is, and then you look at it where I don't know, just like it's a completely different environment he's coming from, and there's so much money and capital being generated by the NBA now, especially in this.
It's at the business of basketball. So like you obviously compete with teams to win basketball games and championships and whatever, but the business element of the sport is effectively like, yes, I mean, we know this because this has been talked about. James Dolan has some very strong views on how the NBA should do business, which are not in line with the majority of other owners, it seems, or
not at all.
The league office. But ultimately, the point is James Dolan can vehemently disagree with every single decision the NBA makes. But if I don't know what majority vote they need, I think it's like 2/3 and half. I don't know. Like it depends on what you're voting on. But if the majority of owners want a thing, James Dolan has to go along with it. So the point is like the collective decision making of the bylaws of the league, of what is the CBA, right? How are we going to do the salary cap? All this type of stuff, TV rights. The economics of the league are collectively bargained, collective being the key operative word. So for Ballmer, who came from like, CEO of Microsoft.
I do everything my way. Yeah.
Right. I am answerable to shareholders and the board or whatever, but ultimately I am the one charting the course. This is on me. It is my responsibility. That is not how the NBA works. That's not how the NFL works. It's not how the NHL works. It's not how Major League Baseball works. Like all these sports are cartels, and they are collectively making decisions as a group, what's best for the group, versus their 30 independent organizations doing what's best for them. Like that's it. At least again, just speaking about the economics. Obviously, what you do in team building is entirely separate, but you're still operating under the collectively bargained bylaws, rules, salary cap structure, the money splits, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and then also now that we're in late stage capitalism, right? And the leagues, like these sports leagues, especially like the NBA, are generating so much wealth. Like the amount of wealth and money that can be generated, you don't have like the buses anymore who are the quote unquote like mom and pop billionaires or the mom and pop like owners of the team where like the Lakers are their business. You have all these guys from former CEO Steve Ballmer. You have all these what's the like the investment people who are with the 76ers, right? Like you have all this like other money coming in using NBA teams, using sports teams as a way to like not only generate money, but basically a way to launder money as well. And we're seeing that right now
It's also the asset itself, right? It's
right, exactly.
Asset,
It's a specific asset. So you're like, okay, I see, like Ballmer sees, like he seems competitive or whatever, but he ultimately sees the Clippers as an asset, right? Like it's an independent company as an asset. Like he sees his Intuit Stadium as its own independent asset. And
which
when
he paid for by on its own, by the way.
Yeah, which is shocking.
Entirely privately funded, yeah.
Yeah, which is shocking in any sports, because all sports owners like, we need the public to pay for it. Ballmer's like, no. I have so much money, I could do it on my own, which is, again, another, at least to me, another piece of this where it's just like, well, he has that much money. Of course he could find a way to launder shit, right? Like he has so much of it that it's possible. Like we're in this, I think, this new age of sports where like the integrity of what a sports league is supposed to be and everything that is, it's really starting to fray. And then when you see a story like this where Steve Ballmer, Uncle Dennis, and Kawhi can set up, was it KL2 Aspire LLC to then like to create that at the end of November after the signature and after the deal with Aspiration, to then create that organization, to then become it, like the amount of money being just like washed around is at an insane level. And I don't know if the league, I don't know if Adam Silver's even like up for this type of challenge, because we're kind of seeing that with the league right now with all these media rights that they're trying to establish, right? Like they got their Amazon deal, they got their Peacock deal. They're just trying to do all these broadcast revenue to try to maximize profits. It's almost like the idea of like this socialist cap that we always kind of talk about. It's almost an antithetical of how the league is moving right now and how most of these owners have actually generated wealth, which is finding ways to exploit the rules as much as possible. And I feel like at this point, if you're going to have, you can't have Steve Ballmer as an owner, right? Like if there's this much of a wealth difference and he's not going to follow the rules.
Well, that's the thing is like on the surface, just looking at it, I would be like, sure, seems like he's guilty, but like it is circumstantial. We don't know. The NBA is apparently they are doing their own investigation. I don't know. I listened to like Zach Lowe yesterday kind of talk about this too.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably important to remember, like, the NBA is not a court of law, and like,
no, it's
while
not.
Courts of law apparently don't matter as much nowadays.
Nope.
Like they are, it's a different. The NBA, whatever happens in this case, it's not subject to like laws written down and are and supposed to be at least followed by our courts, whatever, all that shit. They are governed by the NBA bylaws, right?
Yes.
So the NBA bylaws leave, I believe, the punishment for something like this, but also like just determining guilt, right? So the determination of guilt this is not a jury trial. There's not going to be 12 people there, and it has to be a unanimous decision, and it has to be a preponderance of evidence or anything like that. Like, you kind of have to also, and I thought, like, Zach Lowe has his moments, but he brought up a good point where it's like, look, like, they've been putting in rules to basically like curtail Steve Ballmer from being able to spend as much money as he wants to spend. Like, he has been a target already of the majority of other owners. So because they're worried about, like you're talking about, his spending power relative to the rest of the league. And they already have concerns about this. Now you have you've breathed life into this idea that maybe he is even with everything you've done, which is effectively create a hard cap of sorts, right? Even with all of that, all of these restrictions, all of the fucking machinations that make everything so confusing now, and we're talking about fucking aprons and all this shit, even with all that, he is finding a way to go outside the bounds of what's allowed, and to pay his players effectively, or pay whatever to get an advantage. That's all that matters, to get an advantage in an illegal fashion, at least according to NBA bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
And once that feeling is there, and look, I'm assuming these guys know as much as we do at this point in time, as far as like they're probably just listening to the Pablo Torre stuff and like, whoa, this sounds fucking pretty crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. But like, look, he makes a compelling case. And again, this is not a jury trial. So if this was brought into a court of law or something, presumably Ballmer would have a defense attorney, and maybe that defense attorney would get, I don't know, let's say like maybe if he can get X, Y, and Z tossed out, now maybe your case is like, okay, well, this doesn't really prove anything. But this is not that. This is not like it's not that type of situation. This is a board of governors who's going to effectively tell Adam Silver what to do, right? Like Adam Silver is the commissioner, so yes, he has the ultimate power. Adam Silver gets his power from the governors, from the owners of the basketball team. He is to carry out their vision in many ways and carry out what they want to happen as a collective group in many ways. And I just imagine that, like, I wouldn't say that there's been, I don't think they view Ballmer as an enemy, but I do think they've clearly viewed Ballmer as a threat. And I don't know. To me, it becomes very difficult then at that point to operate in, like, I don't know. I just think that there becomes an issue there where it's like, we already viewed you as threat. Now there's this evidence which is being laid out for us. Is it all circumstantial? Sure. Maybe they find a smoking gun. Who knows? Maybe that exists out there. But let's just say the evidence they get is all we have in this Pablo Torre stuff and whatever, and what came out of that Boston Sports Journal. I just think that's enough circumstantial evidence where it's like, maybe they can't kick Ballmer in the league, and maybe they're not going to put the hammer down like they did on Minnesota back in
with Josh Smith, yeah.
Yeah, it can be circumstantial as hell. But if the circumstantial evidence feels like overwhelming to them, and there's a majority that vote on it, again, I don't think Ballmer's going to get kicked out. I don't think that they're going to go full Joe Smith and take away 5 first-round picks or whatever. But I think there's going to be a punishment, and that might be like, hey, Ballmer, you're suspended for 2 years, or whatever. Kawhi, like you, I don't know. They're going to void his contract. That kind of, especially because this is a different contract now that he's on. I don't know what happens there. Like, there's just different stuff that I think they're going to look at, but it's hard for me to imagine nothing happens, that they just get everything checked out, you're good to go. I just find that hard to believe.
I think it's also kind of funny that this doesn't happen if Aspiration doesn't go under. Right? No one knows about this. And it's only known because, like, when you go file for bankruptcy in the courts, you have to lay down, like, who you owe money to. That's pretty much the only reason how Pablo Torre found this out, is the fact that, like, they were a terrible business, basically, pretty much, right? Like, just like bad businessing, wasn't able to, who the hell knows what they were doing. I think, wasn't the whole thing that they were brokering deals to basically, like, plant trees in order to, quote unquote, like, net neutral your carbon emissions? Yeah, and they were going to broker the plant. Like, it's such a scam, but, like, that's how it happens. And it is going to be interesting, at least moving forward now, because, like, this could be going on for God knows how many other people, right? Like, this could be a thing, because, like, we saw how, like, if you watch the episode, like, you saw how easy it is to just kind of, like, and it's also very easy just create your own LLC, invest, and, like, kind of do all this, like, all this, like, laundering. It's going to bring about, like, a lot of, I don't know, like, it brings so much doubt into everything that, like, Adam Silver said, right? The idea that, like, this is a cardinal sin of the NBA, which is circumventing the salary cap. Something like this brings about so much doubt with the entire integrity of, like, what it means to have a collective bargaining agreement, what it means to have a league, all these type of things, where, I don't know, I personally think, like, it's going to go punished, personally say that like this probably needs to be a huge type of punishment though, but like I also don't think that's going to happen, and I think it's going to undermine a lot of everything that goes on. We kind of also see like the undermining of like what like the gambling stuff is do like all the like these the gambling contracts and everything that we're seeing right now. Hell, like this everything we do is like sponsored by FanDuel. Like there's so much gambling money. We're seeing Jonte Porter and Malik Beasley getting all wrapped up in gambling stuff, and now we see billionaires helping facilitate money laundering to get their players paid. Like we're in such a new age where there's so much money being floated around. I don't know how any of the any type of like financial integrity should be set. Like I almost feel like you may need to completely renegotiate a collective bargaining and how paid any way you want. Like you could just figure out a way, and like you kind of see that with Kawhi. He pretty much got an extra $50 million under the table with ease too. And again, it wouldn't have been found out if this company doesn't go bankrupt. Like this would have been completely like no one would have known. No one would have been the wiser.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that some of the I don't know. Like I feel like this is so. Personally, I don't believe that this happens as widespread as people think. Like, do I think that there are some liberties taken? Like, hey, you can use my house. Like, you can use the owner's beach house for a week.
Yeah.
You can use the private jet for a couple of days or whatever. Like, yeah, I think that stuff obviously happens. And I think that it's fine. Like, I don't think that is a big deal to really anybody. I don't think that's the shit the NBA cares about. I don't think other owners care about that. I don't think it's really that much of a competitive advantage because you can't, like, that's not offered. It's not being offered in a contract. It's just like there are probably owners that do that shit and it's whatever. It's viewed as fine and not a big deal. And the other thing is, like, the sponsorship agreements in general, right? Like, that's fine. Like, that's actually okay. You're allowed to, like, the idea that Ballmer introduced Kawhi to Aspire and then Kawhi and his camp and Aspire reached a sponsorship agreement is not a problem. That's fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
I don't know how it happens for the Knicks, but we know, for example, that Jalen Brunson has a sponsorship agreement with Chase, right? And Chase is a sponsor of the Knicks. That's okay because, one, Brunson actually does stuff with Chase. Like, he does shit with them. He actually performs, he meets his sponsorship requirements effectively. And he has real requirements. He has to do events, right? Like, he has to do things to get whatever money is owed to him based on, their agreement. I don't know what it is.
Right.
That part of it is fine. Even the clause of, like, if you are no longer a member of this team, the sponsorship agreement ends. That is also fine because, like,
totally fine.
Again,
it's just,
like,
it's funny, but fine.
It's fun. It's in the normal context of a sponsorship agreement where you're doing things for, like, to be a sponsor, right? To do that, to be a spokesperson. It's fine because if I am, let's just say, fucking Domino's was the official pizza chain of, like, the New York Knicks. And then we traded Josh Hart to fucking whatever, the Lakers, and their official pizza chain is fucking Little Caesars. Like, of course, it makes sense for the sponsorship agreement for Josh Hart to end then because he's going to a competitor effectively. That makes so that clause is fine. The problem is Kawhi did nothing. He in the contract, it's literally written that he doesn't have to do anything.
Correct.
He doesn't have to do anything. And then but the only thing he does have to do is be on the Clippers. So it effectively feels like a underground, like, agreement to just be like, hey, like, you only get this money if you're on the Clippers. Who benefits from that? It's like, obviously the Clippers benefit from that, right? Because it's Kawhi, you don't get this $7 million unless you stay with us. I don't know if you listened to the Mark Cuban part of the pod today that dropped. I was listening to that. Cuban was trying to argue that, actually for the sponsors, it matters more for Kawhi to stay on the Clippers. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense because they're paying him so much money that it doesn't no, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. That part of it is that's the part that gets me. And I'm like, that's the part that I don't see the explanation for it. I do not see the explanation for, like, it is very hard for me to reconcile. Okay, these fucking guys, Sandberg and whatever the other guy's name was, I don't remember.
And the Bill Clinton staff writer, that guy.
Yeah, Sandberg, and then like some like Eastern European sounding name. I forget what it was.
It's Harvard people, of course. It's always
guys,
I know it's always the Harvard people.
They're
up to no good.
It's fucking Ivy League, man. No, but like so these two guys run this Ponzi scheme or whatever. They create this Ponzi scheme. Doesn't matter what the Ponzi scheme is. They could have been selling. Yeah, we're gonna be selling ladles, and it's like whatever. It's a Ponzi scheme, a fraud, effectively, and I don't understand what their purpose of this fraud would be to just independently pay Kawhi Leonard $28 million.
Right.
And I don't get that. Like, I get, and they paid him so much more than like Robert Downey Jr. And Robert Downey Jr. actually cut a commercial for them. He cut a spot for them. So like he actually did something. Why would they just independently decide to give Kawhi $28 million and then $20 million in equity or something? Like, it just feels like Ballmer gave them $50 million or whatever. Maybe it wasn't Ballmer. Maybe it's somebody on Ballmer's staff came to him and was like, hey, this is a good investment or whatever. I mean, honestly, the way it reads to me is like, hey, Kawhi wants $7 more million or something. Otherwise, he's going to take this 1+1, and then we could maybe lose him in free agency and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, we want to figure out a way to avoid all that, and this is what he wants X much more, which we can't do unless we do some underhanded thing. And it's like, okay, well, we think if you put $50 million in this company, that'd be a very good idea. And it's like, we could talk to them and whatever. It just, none of it makes sense without somebody from the Clippers side of it wanting it to happen. Like, I just don't understand why Aspire would be like, here's $28 million.
Right.
Like that, why would that happen? And it's like, okay, Uncle Dennis goes to them and says, give me $28 million. It's like, okay, well, again, why would that matter? Like, they would just, like, I don't get why that would matter to them. It's, especially if Kawhi literally isn't going to do anything. He's not gonna tweet anything. He's not gonna retweet anything. He's not gonna like anything.
He's not gonna plant a tree.
Yeah, he's not gonna plant a tree. He's not gonna cut a spot for you. Like, I don't know. I struggle with it, and I don't unless somebody can explain that in some reasonable way that isn't just like, Ballmer's a nice guy, like he wouldn't do that. I don't know. Like, to me, that doesn't really line up. I will also say this, like, this is why, like, you should just, I think that sports leagues should be uncapped.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, you would avoid all this. And I know that there are concerns, but it's like, well, if they're uncapped, then like, New York and LA and whatever big market X, they would win all the time. And I'm not sure that's true, because I think that like you could uncap salaries, right? And you could not have, there is no hard cap. But you could still have, you have this threshold. And once you get above this number, like, all you have is the mid-level exception and trades. And guess what? Like, if you have somebody making $45 million and he's a bad contract, it's still a bad contract. You're not going to be able to just dump that salary somewhere. They're not going to be valuable. You're going to have to eat the money. You're going to have to eat the deal for as long as it's on your books. So to me, I don't think that, like, and if it's so easy for Ballmer to just spend, like, that's what he tried to do. And they really never got that. Like, they made a Western Conference Finals once.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't get as, like, the Knicks spent a ton of money in the 2000s and they were terrible. We outlined a little series of five.
Did you also see because I think I only saw clips of the Cuban Torre thing. I think you said you watched the whole thing. Did you see the clip where, or the part at least, maybe you could add some context to it, Cuban was like, well, if Ballmer actually knew, he would have just thrown money at the situation so it doesn't come out. And like, to me, that doesn't make sense either, because he didn't get that rich by just throwing away money to bad money either. Right? Because didn't Cuban say something like, it was just all like, if he didn't want this to come out, he wouldn't have allowed them to go bankrupt. But it's also like, why would he prevent them from going bankrupt? Because that's just bad money, just to cover up, right? Like, just to cover up the 50 million he owed Kawhi. Like, that also doesn't.
I also think that either. I also think that I don't know the order of operations here, right? I don't know if they were under investigation before they declared. I think they declared bankruptcy after they were, they were, I don't know, indicted but I think after so the too. DOJ said they were whatever. And so like, I don't know. I don't know that we can say anything of that. Like, I don't think we know enough to say for sure that, well, why wouldn't he have just paid to like keep everything going? And the other thing you said was like, why wouldn't he have just like figured out a way to give Uncle Dennis 20 million in cash or whatever? And I'm like, is that like, that's not an easy thing to just do. Like, you can't just go to the bank and be like, hey,
can I get 20 mil?
Yeah, can I get my 20 million in cash now? Like, that's just not an easy thing to do. Like, I thought, I don't know, I thought Cuban was being absurd. It felt like he was, I don't know. I guess like, I don't think we can get sued. I mean, whatever. I highly doubt anybody's listening to this podcast enough to say anything. But like, it's just like, are you trying to tell us something about like your past? Like, are you like, is this what's happening here? Like, it was just really weird for me to see the kind of lengths that he went to argue for Steve Ballmer. And I'm like, I don't know. And then he was like like, oh, like, trust me, nobody would want this more than me. Like, it would help the Mavericks. And I'm like, you're trying a little too hard for me.
Like, way too hard.
Yeah. I didn't get that. I thought it was just being weird. I don't know. The entire Kawhi thing is very odd. I don't know nobody knows what's going to happen. There's a board of governors meeting, I believe, in sometime next week. I don't know when next week, but sometime next week. So this is going to be all the owners, or the governors anyway, in a boardroom somewhere in New York, all together. I believe Adam Silver has a media availability after that. So again, even at that point, I doubt we're not going to know everything. We're not going to know the whole story. They're not going to have a ruling. Like, they're in the just in the beginning stages probably of starting an investigation. And considering kind of like what we're talking about, it's not. I mean, if it took Pablo Torre 7 months to kind of put all this stuff together, even with an army of lawyers, like it's going to take them some time. And then they have to actually like listen to both sides effectively, right? Because to be fair, like, all we got on the Pablo Torre piece of it is his interpretation of what he discovered. And
exactly.
And again, he said that they requested they sent questions to ask Kawhi, to Uncle Dennis, to the Clippers, and they didn't respond, which makes sense. I wouldn't respond either to them, because they'd probably we got to figure that out right now. But like, again, like, both sides need to tell the story, I guess, to the governors. I think that will happen at some point, and then there will be a determination. This might be something that carries on for a while. It likely, I mean, I'd be so shocked if it doesn't carry on into the NBA season. So I just don't know what that's all going to mean. But yeah, I think that Adam Silver's happy? Probably not. Do I think that the other NBA owners are happy? Definitely not. I'm sure that there's some animosity given some of their other murky things in the past, and we'll just have to see where it goes from there more than anything.
I just like that Kawhi and Uncle Dennis figured out a way to get Kawhi in like the camp or the family, or however you want to describe their unit, like basically an extra 50 mil under the table. Like, I actually appreciate the them going out to doing it for some reason, because I think kind of like we were getting at, the whole salary cap stuff, even with leagues, especially like the NBA, it really doesn't make any sense to me. in any sort of way, because it's always framed as like leveling out the competition and making sure that like the poor billionaire isn't getting as like outspent by like the rich billionaire. But like we also just saw like you could actually use this Clippers example like as an example of that, where they went to all this like again, we'll just say allegedly, right? Went to all this lengths to pay Kawhi an extra $50 million over the course of his tenure with the Clippers. They still didn't win, and they gave out the best player in the deal, right? Like I think that's kind of the amusing part in it is like Shea went to Oklahoma City in this to facilitate all this, and Oklahoma City won the title. He's now the MVP of the league, not Kawhi. Kawhi's barely played for the Clippers in general, like since signing with them too. And I think it does kind of go to show that like you can't just spend money either. I think you're right with that. Like there is no just, oh, I'm just going to spend $100 billion for like the best basketball team. Like it doesn't work that way. And I think we've all followed sports long enough and different sports to kind of prove that point. Like we saw the Knicks do it in 2000, like we outlined. Remember when the Yankees were doing that after their World Series victories? They're spending money on like Randy Johnson and Kevin Brown and all these guys who just like didn't do shit. Like you can't just spend money and win. Like it doesn't really work that way. So this whole thing with like second aprons and stuff like that, to me, like if Steve Ballmer wants to spend like over like hundreds of millions of dollars to have have Kawhi on his team, let him. Like just let him do it. Like I don't like what's the like to me it's like I don't see an issue with it other than like this perceived idea that it's a competitive disadvantage. I really don't think it's a competitive disadvantage in any sort of thing with it, like the amount of money that you give a player. Like I really don't think it matters. Like you said, like a bad contract's a bad contract. Like it's as simple as that. Like you can't move it. It's still going to cost you something to move it. Like I don't know. It seems silly to me that we're still operating under this idea that like you don't want these guys to spend. Just let them spend. Like I don't know. It's strange to me that in sports, which is so like the idea of like competition and spending and like winners and losers, doesn't actually embrace free market economics like it's supposed to. Like I've always found that bizarre that like sports is more egalitarian and socialist or communist or whatever you want to describe whatever you want to describe the idea of egalitarianism versus like our society, which is just the complete opposite of that. I find it just so strange, like seeing these two things. Because to me, I'm just like, because my initial reaction, like seeing this story, I was like, I don't care. Good for Kawhi to finesse an extra 50 mil from Steve Ballmer, right? Like that was my initial kind of reaction. But then like I took a step back and I go, okay, it's actually kind of bad for the league just to kind of have a guy who's that rich willing to circumvent the rules. Because like if you're not going to follow rules, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, like we're running into like a society like in this like Trump presidency where like court of law doesn't matter, rules don't matter anymore. And it's like if we're going with that, then there's like almost no point to having a basketball league. I know it sounds like extreme to this, but like I feel like the league in like any sports organization that's setting itself up to capping the amount of money people can spend or earn eventually leads to this, because someone's always going to find a way to circumvent it. There's always going to be some sort of circumvention if you're allowing these type of restrictions. And I think you just let them spend. That's how you avoid this. Just let them spend. Just who cares?
It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. Which it's not. And we're going to always have these type of things. But like, I think having these restrictions is the reason why this stuff happens. That there's this type of money laundering that's basically happening because of the restrictions. I don't know. Just let them. I don't. It's not our money. Like, who cares? But billionaires do, I guess.
Yeah, they certainly do, especially in sports leagues. It's the only time they care.
They really do.
Yeah. All right. I think let's move on a little bit from Kawhi here. The Mavericks signed PJ Washington to a 4-year, $90 million contract. They now have a front office. They now have a front court that is Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. I saw people giving them a lot of praise for this contract. I don't want to be clear. I think it's a fine contract. I think PJ Washington, especially in the current environment, the current salary cap of the league, I think that contract is fine. I think he's a good player, and that's fine. I just have no idea what this team is. Like, I think Nico Harrison is terrible. I mean, not that I'm not saying anything shocking. Nico Harrison is terrible at his job. I don't get this team. Like, you have 6. I just named 6 guys that like probably all their best position is either the 4 or the 5. At least a couple of them, probably Flagg, Marshall, and PJ are all going to see minutes at the 3 at some point because AD is going to play the 4 at times, probably a lot, and they still have Lively and Gafford, who they like. I don't know. I just don't get this team. They paid Gafford earlier this summer too, or they extended him, I should say. I don't know. I think PJ Washington's a good player. There are worlds where I wouldn't mind. I'd even flat out like having PJ Washington on the Knicks, for example. But it feels a little odd. I don't know. I don't get it.
You could they basically have 7 to 8 guys. I know they're going to extend them to the quote unquote small forward role, but they effectively have 7 to 8 guys that play 2 positions.
Their ideal positions would be those 2 positions. One of those.
Yeah, right. That's the ideal. And I don't know, isn't this an old Bill Simmons thing? Which I hate when Bill Simmons is right, unfortunately, but you have to play your best 5 players at some point, right? You have to have roles for them, and where's everyone going to play? That it's really I don't know what your best lineups are, but you can't how to have your best players forced into just 2 or 3 roles. You can't do it. It's just bad team building. I don't know. Maybe they'll trade because it's a good contract. I do think with when you hear things PJ Washington, the contract can be good, but how it fits on the team, it's I feel like it's 2 separate conversations, and they're kind of forced into the same one. Where people are no, it's good, but yeah, but what's his role? Isn't Clay still on there? He's not a guard anymore. He has to play. He's probably gonna have to play. What's their lineup going to be? Because the guard position is going to be Kyrie and D'Lo, right, on the backcourt, and then you have the 3 forward spots. Who are you playing? Who are you playing? I don't know. It's you just log jam.
I don't even know if their starting lineup is going to be Flagg, AD, and Lively. I don't know. It just
where's Max Christie going to play? Is he going to come off the bench? Is he going to start? Is D'Lo going to come off the bench as a 6 man? I don't know what they're doing.
It's weird, and I also just feel I don't know. They basically got the get out of jail free card by landing Flagg in the draft, and for them to not take it and just be no, we think we can still win now, when it's probably should have just traded AD and traded everybody that had value, and because they actually own their pick next year. So the last pick I think they have control of until 2030 or something like that. It would have been the perfect year to just be okay, well, we can deal with Kyrie later because he's not going to be back this season. And everybody else can just go. We can just trade everybody else. And I feel that would have been a lot more productive and useful for them than what it ended up happening.
You could also still have a competitive team with the players and stuff you add too, right? I get the logic of never wanting to blow it up, because you also don't want to just completely blow it up, have a bunch of young guys and they suck, right? You don't want that. You want them playing meaningful games and all that type of stuff. I understand that logic, but you still could have done that with picking Flagg. You kind of had, you said, you had that get out of jail free. You got your guy, you got the franchise guy. just kind of build around him and like go from there and reassess how good actually is he in year one. What does he need? Does he need a point guard? Does he need a center? Like that type of stuff. And instead, they're just not even doubling down at this point. What are they, like quadrupling down? That like we made the right decision to trade Luka.
Yeah,
like they're not backing down.
Well,
and
it's like they. I don't even care about that, but it's like even if you want to try and win, like I don't get how you view this as the best way to build a fucking roster. Like you have 3 centers and you have 3 power forwards or like nominal power forwards. But AD is going to play the 4, even though he's like clearly better at the 5. The whole fucking thing is crazy. I don't get it. I think it's funny because I think they actually do have quite a bit of talent, but like the way it's put together doesn't really make sense to me, and I don't trust their GM to make it happen. Like it's also funny because I feel like he got a lot of credit a couple years ago for making the trades to get PJ Washington and to get Daniel Gafford at the deadline, which kind of like helped put everything. I mean, that's how they made their finals run. Not because of those guys, but it gave them their roster made a lot more sense. They became an elite defensive team, and they were able to ride that to get to the finals. But like, if you remember, they offered those picks that they ended up trading for Gafford and PJ. They actually offered both of them for Kuzma. And the only reason it didn't happen is because the Wizards asked Kuzma if he wanted to be traded. He said no, and that was it. So like they didn't trade him. So they kind of got saved from themselves in some ways, and that's been a lot of what happened, right? Like they let Brunson walk, and then they take a shot on Kyrie, who's available at a discount price because he's posting questionable things on his IG or whatever. And it's just like, so like none of it is actually that well planned. It just feels like it's like, they caught a good card on the river or something. Like they're not, this is not like they're playing great hands. They're just like getting very, very fortuitous, cards on the turn and shit like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's worth mentioning because that contract was signed, but like that roster just makes such little sense to me. And I don't get it. And like, whatever. The other contract that was signed, at least I guess, was Cam Thomas signed a 1-year, $6 million contract, which is basically just a qualifying offer with the Brooklyn Nets. He turned down a 1-year, $9.5 million contract from them, which on the qualifying offer he signed now for the 1-year, $6 million, he effectively gets a no trade clause for this year. And any team that trades for him does not get his full bird rights. So the odds of him getting traded are basically very, very minuscule at this point. Yeah, slim to none. So he turned down a 1-year, $9.5 million contract that wouldn't have come with the no trade clause. He also turned down a 2-year, I want to say $30 million contract. I think that had a team option. Again, no, that wouldn't have contained a no trade clause. So I actually think he made a mistake here, like in the sense of, I think you should take the 1-year, 9.5, because you still would get to free agency next year, which seems to be his ultimate goal. They could be traded because they would want to flip him for value rather than lose him for nothing, whatever his value might be. Whereas now, I feel like they have no incentive to really play him. He is in our future. He has a no trade clause. He doesn't have bird rights attached to his contract, even if you do come to an agreement with the team for a trade. Like, even if he's willing to waive the no trade clause, the fact that he doesn't come with bird rights attached makes him much less valuable to a team interested in trading for him. I think this is a total mess. He maybe has made mistakes, but I also think the Brooklyn Nets carrying him into this offseason was a mistake. They should have traded him at the deadline. They probably should have traded him a year ago. They didn't do either of those things. Yeah, it's just a mess. And I don't really know what again, like short of the Nets trading him, like this is just always going to play out this way because there was no money for him out there on the market, and he clearly is comfortable betting on himself. Like I think a 2-year, $30 million contract, even with the team option, is actually decent. Like I think that would be pretty good. But he wants more. He thinks he deserves more. I get why he thinks he deserves more. Personally, I think 230 is like that's fine. That's probably right about where you want if you're going to roster him. That's probably where you want the number to be at, or would be comfortable at least having the number be at. But yeah, this whole thing just seems bad. I don't even know if he's going to play because if I'm the Nets, I wouldn't want to play him. You want to play this guy in a contract year? Like he's already a gunner, and now he's playing for money. He's literally playing for his next contract, wherever it's going to be. You drafted 5 rookies, all of whom you're rostering, or I believe they're rostering all of them. Maybe one of them won't be. And all 5 of them were like guys that needed the ball in their hands. You know, how does that work with Cam Thomas? I don't know. I think this is a mess, and this is not going to be like some huge dramatic thing because it's fucking Cam Thomas and it's the Nets. But like, but yeah, like whatever. I just think it's going to be a mess, and it's not going to be dramatic to like people like us or whatever. Like, it's not going to be dramatic to the broader NBA media because who cares about the Nets, and again, who cares about Cam Thomas? But like, she's trying to build something out from the ground up, which is what they have to do again. Like, I don't know. I just wouldn't have dragged this. I probably would have just been like, I probably would have just rescinded the qualifying offer and let him walk in free agency rather than this. Like, I think this is a terrible outcome for him and for the Nets.
Yeah, because they didn't want him, right? Like neither of them wanted each other. Like it like if they actually wanted, like if the Nets actually wanted him, they would have resigned him. There would have been some sort of communication between the two parties. I don't know. I don't think ironic is the right word, but like for some reason, I kind of think he's good in a weird way. But I think he's good in that if I can change his mind, like if I could change the way he's wired, I think he makes sense. But it's not going to work out. Like it's not going to work out. It's a terrible idea. Like I thought the entire Nets offseason, especially with their draft, letting him get to this point, the whole thing, like they are a complete mess. Hopefully he can find some sort of direction or someone to kind of like guide him to be like, he would be a great 6-man, right? Like he's like, to me, he's the type of guy, like if he's on a hot streak, let him cook because he's actually surprisingly hyper efficient. But he also like he doesn't pass the ball, he doesn't play defense, he doesn't do any of those things. But like he's someone I would just, if I could throw him off the bench, like get him off the bench and just ride a hot shooting streak with him, I think he would be one of the best at that in that specific role. By he thinks himself better as that. Like that's how I ultimately see him, and I think that's where he would thrive. But he's clearly not there in his career yet. Like he doesn't think that at all. Being like the 7th guy off the bench who just kind of like guns for a bit, and then if he doesn't have it, you just pull him out.
Yeah, it's just it's very stupid. I think that he would have. I talked about this earlier this summer. I actually think that he's like improved quite a bit. Like you mentioned, he's become a lot more efficient. So I think he's amazing. No, I think there are issues with like, it's one thing to be efficient and be productive and improve when you have this crazy usage going through you, but like,
right, exactly.
He's never going to be the best offensive player or the best player on a serious team or a team that's trying to be serious. And so like, can he scale what he does down and remain impactful, which would mean he would need to be more comfortable as an off-ball offensive player. He would need to be at least a more competitive defensive player. Like he would need to do things that you have to do when you play more of an ancillary role, and we don't know that he can do those things.
Right.
And like, that is the whole question with him. That's the whole problem with him. And that's why, like, I don't know, like to me, if I were the Nets, and once I do the Bridges trade, clearly at that point, and I do the Bridges trade, and then I do that other trade where I get back my picks for the next couple of years, like you should have just tanked and everything right then. And like, I
Mhm.
guess they might have thought, okay, well, and maybe rightfully so, Cam Thomas can be like our tank commander, and then we're gonna, raise his value, and then, you know, like raise his value and then flip him. It didn't work out that way because he got hurt and he just kind of, I think he only played like 20 something games last year. But then just let him go. Like, I don't know. I just find this entire thing so stupid. Like, you're kept him because you want value at some point, but it's like, what value are you looking at, man? You're gonna get a second round pick? Like,
the value's gone. They missed it. They missed that boat. Like it's gone at that point. And
if it was ever even there, like again, like he's just been a weird player to evaluate.
Yeah, and if they couldn't trade him for anything, like as the tank commander, then you should have some sort of, that means like he doesn't really have value in the league. So like you do just let him walk, and like if he happens to change his mindset and kind of accept certain things, then like you just kind of like take the L on it. It's just he's just a player that like it's kind of fun. Like he reminds me a little bit of Cam Reddish when he was with the Knicks, right? Just someone who has like an idea of who he wants to be and how he wants to play versus how he should be playing. That's Cam Thomas, and that was Cam Reddish with the Knicks as well. And somehow the Knicks turned it Cam Reddish into Josh Hart, which is incredible. Maybe the Nets thought they could pull something off like that, but
the Knicks attached to first, which like obviously the Nets, and they're right, like they shouldn't do that because they're not trying to be good right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just I don't get what they're doing. Not that I've gotten it for a while. But hey, Sean Marks is still there. He's going to continue to be there.
And he's the great Sean Marks. He's done such amazing work with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep, Sean Marks has done it again. I wanted to close this. This is kind of random, but I was talking about this with a couple friends, and okay, so SGA, obviously he has this monster season, and he's fantastic, right? He wins MVP, he wins the championship, he wins Finals MVP. He won Western Conference Finals MVP. Can't forget that, the big Western Conference Finals MVP. He was All NBA first team, right? So he has a fantastic season, and I think rightfully so has gotten the plaudits that he deserves. I think you could. I think to me it's like quite obvious that Jokic is the best player in the league. But like after that, I think it is I think it's SGA, and I'm not that. I don't think that's that. Necessarily controversial. But where I was going to go with this is in the last 25, basically like since Jordan retired, is he like the most, does he have the highest peak other than, is it just like Steph and then SGA?
Are you talking about like guards?
For guards.
I guess the closest thing to that would be
like Kobe's the other one, but I don't, I think Kobe, like if you're doing an all-time list right now, Kobe would still be well ahead of SGA.
Right. But when Kobe was like cooking, he wasn't winning.
Let's say like the best 2-year windows. Like I just am like, okay, after the post-Jordan era, Steph's, 2014, 15, 16, like crazy good. Right. And then for Kobe, it's probably like the MVP year, and then the year before that or whatever, when they gave it to Steve Nash or whatever. I don't forget what the exact order there is, but like it's probably that 2 years. But like I feel like SGA, I don't know. Like I'm just kind of in the opinion that I think we all understand how good SGA is right now, like today, how good he is.
Yeah.
But if we're like projecting out and we're kind of thinking about where his career is headed based on how good he has been to this point and how good he's been over the last couple of years. He's been all NBA first team now 2 years in a row. I'm just like, are we talking about a guy who might end up as like a top 15-ish type of player? Because this peak, like, he's what? He is
24.
He's older than that. No, he's entering his age 27 season.
Oh, sorry.
And so over his last, I mean, it's weird because of how weird OKC has been, but over his last 3 years, I actually didn't realize that he's been all NBA the last 3 years, actually. So over the last 3 years, these are just his numbers over the last 3. 31.4 points per game, 6 assists, 5.1 rebounds, 1.8 steals, 1 block, 52.2 from the field, 36.2 from 3, 55.7 EFG, 89.3 free throw percentage, and he is at I don't know, it's like 63.3 true shooting. That's fucking crazy. Like, I don't know how to say that. That's insane numbers you're putting up at that point. I think he led the league last year in win shares, which is bonkers for a guard. Like, that's fucking nuts. I don't think he's an elite defender, but he's clearly like, I mean, if your guard is giving you what he is on offense and the fact that he's the size he is, and like, so he's versatile, and I think he has good instincts. Like, he's a positive defender for sure. Like a clear positive defender. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, let's, again, he's 20, he's going to enter his age 27 year. Let's say he goes 27, 28, 29, 30, and he's putting up numbers along these lines. Like, I feel like that's, and they win a championship or two, another championship or two along the way. Like, I don't know. Like, I think this is heading in a place that I'm not sure that people are like thinking about yet, envisioning yet. Like, he's almost on the trajectory that we kind of all assumed Luka was on after they made the finals in 2023. And like, look, 2023, 24. To be fair to Luka, like, the fact that he gets traded and whatever is like not on him, and the Lakers, as far as I'm concerned, it's a kind of a messy situation. I don't really know what their path to building a contender around Luka is. I'm not sure they do. That's not his fault, but like, the guy hasn't been in shape, and like, now they're making a big deal of like, oh, like he's getting in
I know he's in shape now.
And it's like, okay, congratulations. Like, I guess I'm supposed to be happy that you're finally doing that, but like, cool. And then like, he's not anywhere close to as good of a defender as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, it's just not close. And so when you just think about all of that stuff, I'm just kind of like, yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like when we talk about Luka, or what, not we, but like broadly we talk about Luka, we understand and we project and we think about like, this guy has all-time potential, right? Like, top 10 all-time, multiple MVPs, all that shit. Like, he has been thought of in that way for so long. And yet, even though SGA, he was finished second MVP voting last year, he won MVP this past season. Like, in 23, 24, he was second MVP voting. Then he wins the MVP last year. Again, wins championship, all that shit. I'm just kind of like, again, like, I don't know that it's talked about enough, like, the way he's trending right now. Like, he's trending in a way that is what that trajectory is like of an all-time guard, like an all-time great guard. And that's why, like, I think when you think about like who are the best post-Jordan guards, and like, I understand Jordan wasn't a point guard or whatever. If we want to get into that debate, it's its own thing. But like, I'm just talking about number one options on contenders and title winners that were guards. Like, it's the only three that, at least in that, like, in the mix of like how you would want to rank them in some order, is Steph, it's Kobe, and it's SGA. And I don't think anybody else stacks up. And like, I'm probably have seen it. I mean, I've seen enough at his peak where I'm like, I'd put his peak above Kobe's. And I don't even know that he's peaked yet. Like he's again
We don't
entering
know
age
yet.
27. Like he could get better. Maybe he's going to be a volume, shoot better from three or whatever. Like who the hell knows? So like for me, it's just like Steph's peak is the only thing that is better, and that's fucking crazy to me.
Like I was just going through the MVP like list of people over like the past couple of years. The closest peak I'm thinking, even though he didn't win MVP, would be Dwayne Wade's like final run before LeBron, right? Like that would be like that, but that's an isolated season. That's an isolated postseason. And then after that, like you said, we have Steph and Kobe, and then it's what, James Harden?
Yeah, I guess Harden's the only other guy.
Right?
For me, it's just I would never put Harden in that conversation. But
that's what I'm saying, though, right? Like it's like that's what we're saying, right? Like now we're getting into like it would be Harden, Westbrook, Chris Paul.
Yeah, Westbrook's not in that conversation. No.
Right, exactly. So like we're kind of here, and you're just kind of thinking like if those are the other guards, and they're like, yeah, we're not really counting them, especially like Harden, we're not counting. Yeah, it would be, unless you want to say Jalen Brunson on the Knicks is equally as good as SGA on the.
If he wins the championship, I'm ready to have the conversation.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, yeah, same. But like
as of right
now, as of right now, it's kind of hard to argue. I personally just want to hate because I don't like Oklahoma City. I don't like the Thunder. I don't like everything they represent. I think they are a plague. And
I don't like them, but I do like him. So I don't really know what.
No, I was gonna say like if I can get rid of like the hate, if I could like separate that hate for like the franchise and everything Oklahoma City represents, it's kind of hard to like what would be the argument against SGA? Like I can't even think of anything. Like it's kind of straightforward, right? Like it's very much like he's kind of the guy.
So if you look at Kobe's three best seasons, in my opinion, anyway. So this would be from age 28 or 27 to age 29 seasons. He averaged 31.7 per game, 5.1 assists, 5.8 rebounds, 45.7 from the field, 35.1 from the field, 49.8 EFG, 85.3 from the line. His true shooting, give me 1 second, would have been 57.1. Even if you want to give him the like, two of those Lakers teams are fucking awful, by the way. That 05-06 team and 06-07 team are bad. So if you want to give him a bump for that, you want to give him a bump for like, this was a more defensive era and the spacing sucked and whatever. Like, I think even if you give him those bumps, he's not on the level. Like, he's not in the same ballpark. And if you look at the playoff numbers for these guys, so over that time span, so this is again from age 27 to age 29, he played 33 playoff games, 57.6 true shooting, and then let me pull up the normal numbers, the non-nerd numbers, the non-woke nerd numbers. For the playoffs, he is 27 to 29. So for the playoffs, 33 games again, 30.1 points, 5.3 assists, 5.7 rebounds. He had 3.8 turnovers to 5.3 assists, by the way, in the playoffs. 48% from the field, 33.1 from three, and 51.8 EFG. If we look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just over the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, because he didn't play in the playoffs 3 years ago, he's actually played 33 games the last 2 years, which is funny. 33 games, 30 points per game, 6.5 assists, 2.5 turnovers, 5.9 rebounds, 47.3 from the field, 32% from three, and 50.5 effective field goal percentage. So actually lower than Kobe's. Shout out Kobe. And then his true shooting over those 2 years, 57.6, which is right on par with Kobe. Again, like you can parse it, and I'm not really that interested in doing that, where it's like, 2 of those years Kobe only played a first round series. Like, how does that, whatever. I'm not going to do that. I don't know. I think the better passing, the better assist turnover stuff. I think I think that SGA is a better rebounder. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about. And obviously, you look at now, you have the team success too, right? You have the championship this year. You have the MVP in tow. Like he's got to play it out. He's got to play it out. But I think about like just a 2-year run in terms of that. Like it's up there, man. It's up there with Steph. It's up there with Kobe, and that's like kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, because we both love Steph, right? I think, like you and I both love Steph, and we're like his peak is some of the best peaks, and like SJ also has like the awards, the accolades, and the winning, like Steph as well. He does. And like it's kind of hard. Like you can't argue against it, right? I think it's one of those things where it's just like everything is kind of there for him. Like the only knock is the fact that he plays in Oklahoma City. That's the only knock that I could think of, and that's not a legitimate knock on him as a player.
Yeah, I mean, and Steph's peak. I mean, the 2-year peak anyway would be 2014-15 when they win the championship, in 2015-16. He goes back-to-back MVP. They lose in the finals in 2016. Those 2 years, he's 27 points per game, 7.2 assists, 3.2 turnovers, 4.8 rebounds. He has 2.1 steals, which is kind of nuts. 49.6 on the field, 44.9 on 9.6 attempts from three.
It's insane. It's insane what he was doing.
He's a 61.3 effective field goal percentage, 91 free throw percentage. Like that 2-year run is nuts. Even the playoff numbers for that run are crazy. Just 2 years in a row. In the playoffs, he's 27 per game, 5.8 assists. His turnover rate does climb like crazy though. 5.8 assists to 4 turnovers, which is kind of crazy. 44.8 from the field, 41.4 from three on 11 threes per game, 56.2 EFG. His 2-point percentage really went down in the playoffs, 49% from two over those 2 years. I don't know. He's just that 2-year peak to me with Steph is so wild. His true shooting over those 2 years is 65.5. In the playoffs, his true shooting is 60.5. Yeah, like it's from an efficiency perspective, it's crazy. Obviously, you had the championship, and then you have the finals run. Really should have been back to back. You could argue to me that his best year, just kind of like considering circumstances, was the last title run they had in 2021-22. But yeah, just like when you again, like we don't know what SGA's full career looks like, so we'll see. I mean, we don't even have an idea of what it looks like when he's age 30 will kind of like be very informative. But the way he's trending, if this guy stays healthy, I don't know. Like I just don't see any reason to doubt his ability to continue to put up monster numbers and have monster success.
No, I'm with you. It's kind of hard. He also has like the main shot that makes you super successful, which Steph changes because he's the best shooter, but like SGA is like what? He's probably like the best mid-range guy. Like the idea of just like pulling up and just getting that look.
Yeah, that's the best mid-range guys. For guards, it's SGA and Brunson, and then like really no other competition.
Yeah, like that's like those two guys, especially SGA, because he has the height and the length. That's the real superstar shot, right? Because that's the shot that like most teams will quote unquote give you.
Well, it's a shot you kind of need in crunch time almost.
But yeah, like you need that shot, and he's the best at it. Like that should age, but we'll see. The defense, though, it's the stocks, right? Like it's the same thing with like Steph, where
it's the stocks, and it's also that like you can't hunt him that well because he's
big.
You
can't.
He's 6'5".
No, you can't, and he's lanky, and
right.
he could just like pick your pocket. Like you can't just. Again, it's not
you can't purely mismatch hunt him. It's probably the best way to put it. Like, can you take advantage? You want to make him work, just you want to make any number one option work. But like, you can't just like, it can't just be like, okay, have Luka call for a ball screen with SGA's guy, get the
every
switch,
single time,
and just like go to work. Like it's just not. That's not
gonna
work. That's not going to work that well with him.
No, he's making a run. We're definitely watching greatness.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of interesting because we don't. like even with Jokic, right? Like I'll admit, like I'm including myself in this. Like until he won a championship, I was kind of just like, he's awesome, but like he's
Right.
great, and then he
But-
wins the championship, and all of a sudden you like have this huge appreciation, and you're like, holy shit! And now it's like every year I'm just like, yeah. Look, I think there is definitely an element of like NBA media that goes way too nuts with Jokic constantly, but like he is the best player in the league. I think the stuff that he does is absolutely nutty. But like, or but like, so now we have that appreciation for him because he's won the championship. Now we look at the body of work and we're like, yeah, of course, like Jokic is an all-time whatever player. And I feel like I'm not trying to like get ahead of it. I'm just kind of like projecting what I think SGA, not even like what I think he can do, but even if it's just stays the same relatively for the next 3 or 4 years and adds a championship or something,
it's going to be very impressive.
Well, we're just going to look at it and be like, oh yeah, of course this guy is like a top 13, 14 player of all time or whatever. Like, and it's just kind of, I'm like, again, like I was just thinking about it the other day and I'm like, that's not crazy, right? Like, I don't think it's crazy to be like, yeah, actually his peak might be there. And look, I'll say this too. I don't know that people fully appreciate how much, like, because there's so much love for this, like, oh my God, Presti building all this talent and look at how they built this team and whatever. And like, it's fine to give them the credit for that. I don't even think they're a playoff team without SGA. Like, I really don't.
Probably not.
They're a play-in team. Like, they're definitely in that range, but they might not make a playoff. They're not going to, I don't think they'd make the playoffs. And even if they did, I think they're a first-round exit that doesn't have much traction offensively. And I don't know that there's a real appreciation for, like, how much of the just offensive creation load he carries because people really like Jalen. And Jalen Williams is good, but, like, because people really like Jalen Williams and, like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, Chet. Like, but, like, Chet's not creating offense, really. And Jalen Williams is pretty good at creating his own offense. But, like, there's a very big difference between creating your own offense and, like, being the offensive engine of the team for 36 minutes a night. And, you know, that is a big difference. And you know, it's kind of nuts because I still think that there's, like, another level for SGA to get to, which involves him and maybe it involves Jalen Williams taking a step and then SGA being able and being more comfortable playing off of him. And it's like, who knows? Like, I just think that, like, the possibilities for him are really, really crazy. And again, it's weird because he just had the season where he literally got every accolade you could get. And even after that, I'm just like, I still feel like the way people talk about what Luka could be all time. And this is not even a knock on Luka. If I was doing a knock on Luka, I just, you know, start with, like, his weight or something.
Yeah.
But, like, there is, like, this fundamental, like, we get what Luka's career could look like, right? Like, we get that. And I don't know that is there for SGA, even though if you just stack up, like, the accolades and the achievements, SGA has him right now.
Well, even just looking at if you just look at, like, the counting stats with SGA, like last year, he's basically at 33 points, 6.5 assists. He can take a new level just by, like, okay, he doesn't score 33 points a night. He scores 29 points, and then he's closer to, like, 9 assists. Like, that could take him to a whole new level just by doing something like that. And that makes their offense better because Oklahoma City was pretty much like, you know, like, defense first. That's what really carried them. And then you just have this guy who is that good and has that much offensive gravity that you can get away with that stuff. No, he's great. I think another good way to also argue for SGA is the fact that he led the Thunder to a championship and Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and James Harden and Serge Ibaka didn't. And Kevin Durant needed Steph Curry to win a title, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, he played with Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. Like, these guys are fine, right? Like, I don't think they're bad players.
Good. I mean, Jalen Williams was what, 13 All-NBA this past season. Yeah, I don't think he deserved it, but he was obviously very good. He was an All-Star, whatever. Like, he's clearly a very good player.
Yeah, like, he's good.
Chet's value I think his offense is overrated and his defense is underrated. However you want to stack that up, but he's probably like a top 40 player at minimum.
Yeah, but like he wasn't like, I don't know. These aren't like all timers, like how people talk about. Harden and Westbrook and that type of stuff is what I'm ultimately trying to get at. And Kevin Durant needed to play with someone significantly better than him to win a title. I hate Kevin Durant. That's really where I was going with this. I can't stand him, anything about it. And if I have to swallow my pride and my hate for Oklahoma City to prop up SGA to put Kevin Durant down, I will. So shout out to SGA for being the one guy to win a title for that backwards ass state in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Whew. All right. That's a good place to end this. Drew, let the people know where they can find you and plug anything you'd like to plug.
You can find me on the Strickland Discord if I decide to show back up. You find me here on this podcast, and I want to plug the U.S. Open men's semifinals. I believe tonight. Yeah, so I'm plugging that because there's Alcaraz Djokovic, which would be great. Djokovic, sorry. We're singing that to, that's great.
Sinner and somebody. I don't know who's playing.
It doesn't matter. It's good. It's good. Sinner is going to win. I don't know. Like, have you been watching it at all? Like any of that?
I haven't watched that much now.
Sinner completely demolished like the 23rd guy in the world. Like, it was embarrassing, and the guy was just kind of laughing at it, how good he was. And he also cooked his fellow countryman. Like, was it something Musetti? I don't know. Like, Sinner is on a goddamn run right now, which is crazy. And both him and Alcaraz are like the two best guys. So just like, you should be watching tennis. That's my plug. Go watch tennis.
Awesome. I think there will be people who do that, but I imagine there will be more people that tune in to watch Kansas City play the San Diego or Los Angeles Chargers. Free on YouTube.
Oh, right. It's football season.
Yeah. So
I forgot it's football season.
Keep fighting the good fight, Doug.
I'm going to keep fighting the good fight and say Alcaraz, Sinner, U.S. Open finals will be better than any football game that's going to happen this year.
I don't know. Their Wimbledon wasn't that good. The Wimbledon final wasn't that good. The French Open final was amazing. Maybe one of the best matches ever. I mean, not maybe. It is one of the best matches ever played.
It's definitely one of the best matches you'll ever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's one of the best matches ever played. So yeah, maybe we'll get that at the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open, but the U.S. Open has what? They have the automatic tiebreak, right? They go 7-6. And now I
believe they do. Yeah.
Every Grand Slam is that now, right? They don't do like you got to win by 2 in the final set anymore, right? Thanks to the woke liberals that are ruining it.
It's unbelievable with their stupid automated calling systems and everything.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. All right. That is our show for today. Thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Peace.